Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing another book review. Today we're going to be looking at The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, the second book in his Wheel of Time series. So first off, I'm going to give you a brief summary, and then I'm going to go into my review and how I thought of the book. Okay, so this is basically, as the title of the book says, A Great Hunt. Our main characters from the first book go out on another adventure in through the world where they must go and hunt for the for a stolen magical object, and as they go on their adventure, they have to come to terms with who they are, what they are, delving into different dimensions and through political intrigue. Okay, so going into my review. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this short. The reason I want to keep it short is because I am suffering from a bit of hay fever, and my eyes are really itching and my nose is so blocked that I'm having quite a difficult time to keep my attention and my focus on giving this review. Okay, so starting off. Okay, so the book continues on where the Eye of the World left off, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I thought that the reason I like that is because we don't have a time skip. We don't have a few months down the line, or we don't have a start in a different location. We start the book straight where we left off in the first book, in the fortress on the borderlands of the Blight, and so that's where we start off. We get to meet the almighty seat of the Aes Sedai. We get to explore the political systems, the color coding of the Aes Sedai. To meet a lot of new characters, we get to meet new nations, new empires, or old empires, I should say. We get introduced to a few more main sub characters. One being Herwin. I believe he's a trope to Tolkien's Herwin novel. We also get a trope to another part of the Lord of the Rings. I don't know if anyone else picked that up, but I did. That's the first thing that came in my mind, and I'll explain it a bit later. Okay, so the pace of the book. The pace of the book can be a bit annoying for everyone, for normal readers out there, but I enjoyed it, and I think it's something that if you're going to continue reading the Wheel of Time books like myself, you have to get used to. It's just the way that Jordan writes. He, like I said in my first review, he takes 20 odd pages, for example, to explain a dress, or how to dress down a horse or something like that. He does drag out the explaining of the world, but I like that. That's one of my favourite points of this book, is that it pulls you into the story. It plays on your imagination, and you can feel like you're there. And I think also, even though this book has moments where it drags and speeds up and drags and speeds up, I think I've read this. It took me less time to read this book than it did The Eye of the World. I actually rushed through this book, and I haven't. Basically, I finished I finished this Great Hunt a few days ago, and I'm already nearly halfway through the Dragon Reborn now. So I'm trying not to think of what's happened so far in Dragon Reborn and throw it into this review, because there's a lot that's happened in the Great Hunt that gets a little bit explained in the Dragon Reborn, if you know, especially towards the Aes Sedai side arc of this Great Hunt story. So I'm going to start off with that first. And I know Rand in this book is basically our main character, quite like continue on from the Eye of the World, but this book actually splits into two. So we have Rand and the boys, and then we have Egwene, Naveen as another arc of this book. And I'm going to start off with the girls first, because I just want to get that out of the way. It's I'm going to explain that all the way up until what happens to the final point of what happens to these girls, and it might get thrown in I might throw in a bit of the boys in this because even though they separate, they do eventually come back together, especially Rand at the end of it. Whereas the boys, they go off on their own adventure and then they eventually come back around and meet the girls, basically, especially Rand again. So I'm going to start with the girls. Okay, so the book starts off with the all of our characters still stuck in the not stuck, but they're staying in the fortress on the Blight. And around this time, the Aes Sedai, I can't even pronounce it. The Iron Seat comes, and she comes all the way to this fortress out on the Blight to come and basically say hello. I think, if I can remember correctly, she comes. I know she's I know there's like a kind of scheme between the Iron Seat and Moraine. There's basically a conspiracy between them two to find the Dragon Reborn and set him on his path. That's a spoiler there for you. And so basically our girls come mixed up in that situation where they're going to go off to the White Tower with the Aes Sedai. That's when the boys split off and run off due to an event that takes place in this book. And so the girls go off to the White Tower to become Aes Sedai. And basically Egwene and Naveen, basically on their journey to the White Tower, go for a little bit of training to how to basically open themselves up to the source, to the power, to the magic. And we learn a bit where basically Naveen does not want to be a novice. So there's three castes, I believe. There's three castes to being part of the White Tower. There's a novice is basically the bare bones, the basics, and then there's an accepted, which is the middle caste, and then there's the full-on Aes Sedai, the fully pledged magic wielder. The accepted, I believe, in my view, is basically the turning point. There's no turning back point, I believe, because once they get to this point, they basically give up their entire life to become an Aes Sedai. So there's a ritual in this where Naveen has to go through a world of mirrors. I call it the world of mirrors. There is an actual name for it, but I cannot even pronounce it. But she goes through 3 worlds of mirrors where she gets tested, and she gets given she gets offered everything that she wanted in her life, all the things that she ever wanted, or she gets given situations where things that make her character get tested, and if she not as a saying in the book, steadfast, if she does not stay steadfast, she can get trapped into this mirror world and she cannot come out, and she fails it basically. If she ends up failing it, she can no longer continue to be trained. She can no longer become an accepted and trained to be an Aes Sedai. So this is the testing system to become an accepted, and it was quite a shock. It wasn't moving, but it was quite a shock to the way the system, the magical, the way the apprentice system works in this Aes Sedai caste system. I thought that was fantastic. So continue with the girls. So the girls, they meet up with, they befriend Elaine, who was the princess from the first book Rand bumped into, along with her brothers, one of her full brother and a half brother, and also Min, who is the seer, I believe. She can see images around people of their future type of things, or how it's going to play out. So they all become friends. So they come a group of 4. The boys go off and do their own thing. So they're just really like minor characters. The brothers, they're really minor characters and go completely away. But as the story progresses for the girls, like I'm going to keep the boys separate because it's the only way I can do this story. I can explain this story. The girls, skipping a lot of what drags in this story, there is a point where a red Ajar, Lydiane, I think it is. She's the red Ajar are the caste are a political caste in the White Tower who hate men. It's literally said they hate men, and they go and hunt men who channel, and they gentle them. And she basically informs Egwene and Naveen that Rand and Co are in trouble, and she asked them to sneak out of the White Tower and go and help them. Which sneaking out of the tower is considered a big taboo, and if you sneak out, you're seen as running away. And I think if you can also just get kicked out of the tower. Basically, you can no longer be an Aes Sedai. So she gets our two girls get enticed to come out to sneak out of the tower with her. And in the process of sneaking out the tower, basically Elaine, our princess, and Min, our seer, tag along with them. And so our Renajar and our four girls, they traverse the ways which we explored in the first book to Tommen's Head or something. They go to meet Rand, but it's basically turns out to be a trap. Basically, Lydiane, I keep getting mixed up these names. The names and the concepts of that is so confusing, and I forget half of the names. So I just try and keep to the basics, like the White Tower for the name of the area, the city where the Aes Sedai stay. Anyway, our girls get tricked, and then we get introduced to a whole new nation of people. I think they're called a Sechan. So these are basically the remnants of the old empire that used to rule over the land of the Wheel of Time is based in. And these guys and girls, this little empire is ruthless. It's the human warriors, the normal warriors, come across as very relaxed, and they will take no nonsense, but they're very relaxed in that. But they're magic wielders. They have this system where they imprison channelers, and they can use a connection device to enslave Aes Sedai, for example, and use their power to wage war. And this is where our girls get tricked. Basically, Egwene gets caught along with Min, but because Egwene's the only one out of those two that can channel, she becomes a slave. She gets connected to one of these Sechan characters, and so Egwene gets tortured. She gets magically kicked, booted, smashed, all the things you could think of to destroy her morale, and she becomes a slave. But in the process of becoming a slave, she learns a bit more about her power, and she can open up to the source of it better for her. And this leads on to breaking from the girls from being a one group to a two group. So we have Egwene, and then we have Naveen and Elaine. Min, I'm not going to class her in any group because she flips between the two groups. So it's basically these two groups, and Naveen has to go and is trying to rescue Egwene. And we learn a lot about Naveen's character. And in the first book, we learn that she's a very uptight, angry wisdom, basically. But in this book, we learn why she's so uptight, and we learn that when she's angry is when she channels, and that's when her full potential comes out. So yes, we go through a rescue system where Naveen goes complete cold, and she goes ruthless to rescue Egwene. And this is where it comes connected with our boys. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to go straight over to our boys. I've already spoke so much now, but we're going to go over our boys. So I need to go completely back to the beginning of the book and explain the boys. So our girls have gone off, and now we're left with the boys. Basically, our main character in this story, on our boy side, is Rand. Basically, we're following Rand again. Rand is going through a crisis. Basically, he knows he's the Dragon Reborn. We know he's the Dragon Reborn. The Almighty Seat knows he's the Dragon Reborn, and Lan and Moraine know he's the Dragon Reborn. But he does not want to be the Dragon Reborn. He does not want to channel. Basically, that is him. That's his character for the entire book. He just does not want to be what everybody wants him to be. And because of this attitude, he pushes himself away from his friends, so Perrin and Matt. So there comes a kind of like a distance between them. And the story goes on. So our horn that was found in the first book gets stolen from this fortress. I have no idea here. I have no idea how we have an attack on the fortress, but especially with the rules and how locked down this fortress, and then we also had the Aes Sedai there. But anyway, story had to be made, and that's how it was made. So the horde is taken by the Dark Friends, by the Dark One's minions, and Rand and co have to go on a hunt to go and get it. So basically, we get introduced. So Loyal goes with them, and Huin, the Smeller, goes with them, and 20 odd soldiers of the fortress go with them. And so they go on a mission to go search it. Our leader of the army, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. He's very adamant of getting this horde. He wants it. There's points in the story that I feel that he wants to sound this horde. He wants to be the one to have the power. But then we slip back, and he just seems like he's just an over eager general, basically. But anyway, so we have a split. So now we have 4 groups, right? So we have 2 groups of the girls and we have 2 groups of the boys. But ignoring the girls, going to explain that. Basically, this split does characters well. So it makes our guy Rand basically step up and become a leader, and it also allows us to explore Perrin a bit better, because he steps up and becomes the stiffer by using his wolf abilities to go continue the hunting, whereas Herwin was originally their smeller, and he can't do anything now because he's with Rand. He can't help that group now because he's with Rand. So our 2 groups separate, and Perrin goes off, and we start learning a bit more about Perrin and his abilities, and also that he feels he's in kind of the same boat as Rand, where he does not want this ability. He does not want to talk to the wolves, basically. And another Aes Sedai, Vienne, who is a brown Aes Sedai, and she's basically I would say a scholar of the Aes Sedai, who's more interested in the history and studying and blah blah blah, stuff like that. And she tags along with Perrin's group, and basically Land, Herwin and Loyal end up getting whisked away into like a parallel universe. There seems to be parallel universes in this fantasy story, and Rand basically transported the 3 of them through a waystone, I believe, to this parallel universe. And this parallel universe they're in is kind of odd, because it seems very dull. It seems the colours seem to be odd, and it seems to play tricks on their vision, where it makes them feel a bit queasy. We also learn about this alternate universe is that it's a different reality. So we learn that possibly the dark one won the war here. Not his war to take over the world, but his Trollocs rule the world. They're a beast, tiny, nasty beast, an animal that roams this little world that our characters need to run away. And Rand comes in contact with a character called Selene, I think she is. She's a weird character. She starts off as just like this damsel in distress, where Rand has to save her. And once he's saved, he becomes completely infatuated with her. His teenager hormones take over, and he can't control himself when he's around her, type of thing. But she seems to have a sinister plot, basically. She wants Rand to be everything that he doesn't want to be. So she wants him to sound the horn, channel his magic, be the most, be the powerful being that you can be. And because he doesn't want to, and he keeps pushing back from it, she gets flustered and frustrated with him, and always keeps disappearing on moments, basically. Herwin, who is our sniffer, can still smell the violence and also smell our Trollocs who've stolen, and our Dark Friends have stolen this horde. So both groups can still chase the same enemy, basically. Okay, so basically going forward a bit, our guys, Selene manages to talk Rand into getting them out of this parallel universe, and it turns out that he needs to channel a lot a lot of the sauce to get him out, and it's one of those one it feels like he's burning inside and we've been explained that if our characters, male or female, channel too much of the magic power, they basically burn themselves out. So our guys come back to the world, and instead of because Rand's our main character, we start going off another adventure where Rand goes up into a city to wait for Perrin and co to catch up. And on his way, he manages to meet Thom. So Thom is alive. Thom, who died for us in the first book, and I was very a bit disappointed, and I wanted to know a bit more about who he was. And it turns out that he has a very small arc. He's a really minor character here, and his attitude is that he does not want to be part of the group anymore. He just wants to carry on his life as possible. He's going through. He's trying to rebuild his life. Doesn't want to be involved in any of the politics of the world anymore, or of this city that they're in. Basically, Rand doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to lie up in this little tavern, in this little inn, and he wants to just wait until the Perrin and co catch up. And in this city, we get a glimpse of what the political game feels like. All the houses, the nobles, and that all are fighting against each other. Who's going to be more popular? Who's going to have all the more power? Blah blah blah. Even the king of this little country seems to be involved in this political game. Okay, and Rand seems to stick out because the way he's dressed, and basically just has that vibe about him, and everyone's trying to pull him into this game, and he just keeps refusing. So every time he gets an invitation, he just throws his invitations in the bin, even though to Herwin's surprise that he understands the game basically, and he thinks Rand should just play it. So basically, Rand holds up in this inn until Perrin and co eventually catch up, and from this point we're switching between the girls and the boys, and we're starting to get a climax and a situation what's happening to the girls whilst the boys is unfolding as well. So Rand and L'Oreal keep going out. They keep going back to the gate from the inner city to the outer city, and they keep asking the gatekeeper if Perrin and co meet up. And on so many tries, they eventually go back to their inn, and on the way back they get ambushed by some very clever hidden Trollocs and dark friends. And from that point on, we learn that the inn that Rand was staying at gets burned down, and the hall gets stolen again. So basically, we have another heist in the making here. And right at this moment, Perrin and co meet up with Rand. So as Rand loses the hall, Perrin meets up and goes, "Hey, the hall, how's it going?" And Rand just slips on the floor and just laughs his face off, because it's just bad luck, basically bad timing. And then we go on another adventure where all of our boys have met up, and we have also this brown-eyed guy, and they go and play the game to get into a high noble's mansion, where they're going to try and steal this hall back. But inside the mansion, we learn that the nobleman is a dark friend, and the guy who has stolen the hall is saying, if you want the hall, you have to come and meet me, type of thing. So Rand and co need to make a decision on how they're going to get this hall back, and they make the decision to travel to L'Oreal's steeding, which is basically where these giants live and stay. They never leave this steeding, and this is why they become myths to the outside world. So we learn a bit about how this is not L'Oreal's steeding, his home basically. It's just another steeding out in the world. But we learn about their culture, we learn about who they are, and we learn a bit more about L'Oreal and how much of a a young adult character he really is. And we also meet these AL characters, these red-headed characters who everyone keeps saying Rand is. and how much of a warrior and how fearsome and how scary, even the women, how scary they are. And anyway, so we go into this stealing. We get Rand and Co. Now I'm going to call them Rand and Co. They get brought to the elders, and they make a discussion because they want to use the portal of the ways to try and travel to Tommen's Hill Head, where basically our girls got tricked by the Sechan travel. So they go in and learn. So they make a decision to use the portal, the keystone, the waypoint, the waystone. Sorry. So only Perrin, the brown Ajar Aes Sedai, knows Rand is a Dragonable, and she asks him to channel to make this waystone work. And in the process of him channeling this, we get to experience these alternate universes again, where they Rand, I don't know how he does it. I don't know if he does it wrong or he just channels too much power or something, but something does go wrong where he himself goes through so many of his lives. He relives his lives, like experiences his lives where he's just a normal farmer, where he's the full-on dragon reborn, or he's just a lone soldier or a palace guard, or he's just a farmer married to Egwene type of thing like that. So he goes through all these alternate realities and universes, and not just him, all the other characters seem to go through this process as well. So anyway, so this basically plays on all our characters and builds up for our final point. At the end, as Rand and Co learn that the Sechan invaded this seaport town, city, and they must sneak into it to get the hall that was taken to this High Lord of the Sechan, or this general. Basically, he's a blade master, and our characters need to go back into this, need to sneak into this world. And basically, one of the points I picked up here is that when Rand and Co are walking around trying to be conspicuous, Rand and Huin and Rand and Huin, because L'Oreal's not there, sorry. So basically a small group of people go into this, not the whole group, sorry. Should have made that clear at the beginning. So just a small group. So Perrin, our general of this of our party who's searching for the horn, Matt and Perrin go into the city as inconspicuous. They try to go inconspicuous. And as they walk around, Perrin and Rand notice these beasts that the Sechan are riding. And they turn out to be the beasts in this parallel universe that kept hunting them. And it made me think that these beasts are on a completely different continent, and because they don't seem to be on this world, on this land where Rand was born. And they seem to be on a different continent. So it's really odd. Where did these beasts come from? If these Sechan have them, they must be on the continent where these Sechan come from. So that was really interesting for me. And so our guys go into this, and they sneak into the palace where this blade master, this warden, high lord is living. Excuse me. And Rand basically battles this blade master. The battle itself is really, it's not something I really liked. I don't know if it's done on purpose. I think it might be done on purpose. But we have the explanation of the battle. It's based the dance of the singing bird, the flap of the wing, the blah blah blah. This is how this fight explained, and I think it's explained like that because Randy himself was stuck in the void, and all his emotion and all of his thinking and his vision is completely wrapped up in this, that his body's just moving on its own. I think that's what I took away from that. His body's just moving on its own. He's using all these sword maneuvers he learned from Land before he went off on his adventure, and he ends up beating this blade master. And in the process, they steal the hall back and they leg it outside. And we learn that we learned that we learned that the general of this army that was helping was a dark friend. There's a really odd point because I couldn't really work out how he's a dark friend. But anyway, and our white cloaks turn up. There's a big point in here where we have white cloaks coming down on the small port town, and our white cloaks turn up. So now Rand, Perrin, and Matt and Herwin are stuck in the middle of our white cloaks and a Seichan army, and they're going to meet and have a massive war, massive battle basically. And Matt decides to blow the horn, and this is the point of the story where I thought Lord of the Rings kicks in, because as soon as Matt blows the horn, we are greeted with the undead. The undead, Aragorn's undead, the army of the undead, and they go and help Matt and Perrin defeat the Seichan army, whilst Rand mystically becomes a character in the sky. This is a complete spoiler, I'm giving it all away now. Rand becomes a mystical being in the sky and fights Basilmont again. And they have a massive sword fight in the sky, whilst the army of the dead is basically fighting back the Seichan. The White Cloaks got completely obliterated in the process of the horn being manifested. Basically, this army of the dead being manifested. And basically that's how our story ends. Rand defeats Basilmont again. He gets found by Min, and Min proclaims her love for him. She sees one of the prophecies and one of the things she sees for herself. And Egwene is free because Levain freed her, and they all escape. Marine comes back into the story. She does have bits and bobs in the story. I'll explain about her in a minute. And this is where we learn that Rand has been fully claimed as the Dragon Reborn to the world, because everybody, this vision in the sky, this like a pay-per-view vision in the sky, everybody could see, and it just so this is basically the story. And I'm going to go quick before I give my final thoughts, because this is a long video, and my view ended up turning into explaining how the ending went. It basically become an explanation of the book instead of a review itself. But anyway, go back to Marine and Land. So Marine and Land basically don't really have much in this book. They have a few minor points in it where we get to learn a bit more about Moraine and how she is as a character herself. We learn that she is of the Blue Jar, and we learn that she's insecure herself, and she worries about about surviving and stuff like that. And we learn about her relationship between Lan and what she has planned for Lan in the future, which basically sets Lan off on a mad one. And we also learn that there's this odd creature that gives me the image of a pterodactyl who comes down, and when he lands, if he makes this kind of croaking noise, it basically entrances you. And if this pterodactyl monstery thing kisses you, then you're dead. Anyway, so that's the end of that's the story. That's my entire review and my entire explanation of the end of the book. So that's spoiler. And so I really enjoyed this book. This book was really good. I got pulled right into it. I finished it very quickly. I give the book I'll probably give it a 4 out of 5. I hope you enjoyed this review, especially with my hay fever playing up. And so all I can say at the end of this, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.